Welcome back, knitters. I'm Jana with Purl Together, and today I have a review for you and a giveaway. Knitters Pride sent me this interchangeable needle set. These are the new SmartStix, so I'm going to tell you what I think about them, and then I'm going to give away this very set. So the very first thing I noticed is that it looks like a little clutch. It has a very secure snap, a magnetic snap, so that's nice. Nothing's going to come loose there. And then up here on top, you have the pocket where you keep the cords. The cords and the keys are inside here. And then you have a window. Now you'll notice that a set is missing because those are the ones I was trying out. I've tried out two different sizes on two different projects, so I'll get to that in a moment. You'll notice that each size is color-coded differently. Okay, and you'll also notice that these are sectioned off. These are 1-inch segments, so that makes it kind of handy. I'll show you how I use that in a moment. The sizes that this set comes with is a US 4 or a 3.5 millimeter, all the way up to a US 11 or an 8 millimeter size needle. So that's quite a good selection, especially if you have somebody that's just starting out knitting and they want to build their collection, but they don't necessarily want to buy a whole bunch of, single fixed circular needles. This is definitely a good option to go with, and especially the fact that it comes with the different various lengths of cords. So those are color coded as well. So I'll show you how I use them. Now the only concern that I had about this, I'm not a super fan of vinyl or vegan leather. However, it's durable. I'll give them that, and it's stitched stitched all the way around, and it is a hefty case, so it's going to put up with years of in and out of backpacks or project bags or, luggage or anything like that. So it is the case, although it is vinyl or plastic, it is well made. The only concern that I have are these little loops here that keep your needles in. Don't get me wrong, I haven't had any issues at all, but I just wonder, I don't know anything about this material, so I don't know if it would stretch out over time or not. But so far, I've had a couple different sets in and out of those, and it fits tightly, and it hasn't given me any indication that it would stretch out at all. It's just something I questioned. So far so good. All right, let me show you the needles themselves. All right, what I have here is block 14 of Nora's Vintage Afghan, and I've been testing out these size 7. You'll notice that each of these, one of the two in the pair has the etching right on it, so that's really handy. They're all color-coded, like I mentioned earlier, and it does say very clearly what's on here. The other thing that is interesting is these are 1-inch increments, so you can see that says 2 inches. If you're starting from the tip, that would be 2 inches, 3 inches, 4 inches. Now, I would not necessarily use these to measure stitch gauge, only because you wouldn't have the window in, I guess you could lay it down there and try to measure your stitch gauge if you were able to, line that up exactly correctly. One thing this would be super helpful though, is to measure wraps per inch. For example, if you wanted to know how many wraps per inch, if you had, let's say you had yarn in your stash that the label had gone missing and you weren't sure if it was DK or Sport or Aran or worsted or something that's really similar, you certainly could, line this up appropriately on one side or the other of one of those sections and then lightly wrap this, and then scoot them over, and you could absolutely measure wraps per inch like that. The other reason that these are helpful is if you'll notice the cords are also marked in 1-inch increments. So those dots are 1 inch apart. So I found that handy. And I'm assuming that this dot is 1 inch from this join, and then you have your increment to here. So the joins, speaking of the joins, they are super smooth. I had a problem with one of them loosening, but I'm pretty sure that was just me not tightening down enough, because once I got the key out and gave it a good tweak, it tightened right up and I haven't had any problem at all. These are more blunt ends that I'm normally used to using. However, that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing, because as you can see, I've done a lot of cabling, and I when using tips that are meant for lace, I tend to poke myself in the finger, and that's partly why I have dry skin and it's winter here. But yeah, you're probably not going to poke a hole in your finger with these like I have with some other needles that I have of various brands. But I found them to be lightweight. I believe they're like machined aluminum. They're very lightweight and they're fast, and the joins I said are perfectly smooth. There is a little bit of memory with the cable when you first take it out, but I haven't found that to be a problem in the least. So what's handy, like let's say you were knitting, oh, I don't know, the waistband or the cuff of a sleeve, and your instructions, rather than telling you number of rows you should knit, let's say your instructions tell you to knit this waistband for 4 inches. You could very easily pull your cable out and measure, you know, put this down and measure from the tip 1, 2, 3, 4 inches, you know. So that's really handy. You do have a built-in ruler no matter where you go. So I really liked that. Overall, I find these to be a joy to work with. They're very, like I said, they're very lightweight. They're fast. The tips are not as sharp as I'm quite used to, but then again, most of my other needles are like lace tips, so I've just gotten used to that. But these are perfectly adequate for just daily regular knitting, and I do like that they're very smooth. There's no snags or anything anywhere, despite that these are sectioned. So I was pleasantly surprised about the lack of bumps or snags. So overall, I was quite pleased with this set from Knitter's Pride, and I would like to give this set to one lucky viewer. Now, keep in mind, this is not brand new in the package. I have obviously tested it out in the size 4. I knitted one of my Harriet's hats that you saw last month. I knitted one of those with the size 4, and then I've used the size 7 to knit this Afghan block. But I have lots of needles, and I did very much enjoy these, but I would like to spread the wealth and pay it forward a little bit and pass this on to one of you. So if you would like to be entered to win this, I'll do the drawing in about a week. Check the video description down below for all the details and the link that you can go click on over and enter to win the giveaway. Thanks to Knitter's Pride for providing this set for one of you to win and for me to review.